Today, I want to talk to you specifically. And when I say you, I mean you, what I call the informed pessimist. One of the reasons you're probably watching this video instead of drawing. And when I say informed pessimist, I mean someone that is actually pretty aware of how long it takes to get good at art. Maybe you've done art in the past. Maybe you're surrounded by artists. Maybe you work in a creative environment and you see the journey, the road that artists go through to actually gain those skills. And you're probably very interested in art. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here watching this or trying to do art. But you see the mountain. One of our students, Soner, said this beautifully. As the informed pessimist, you see the mountain and you even see the path it takes to reach pro level status, right? You know what it takes. You can see it. You can even see the road and you can see all the checkpoints with the fundamentals that you need. And you're down here. But what you also see is that it's still a fucking mountain. And this is why I call it the informed pessimist. The reason for this is that it deters you, it demotivates you from actually climbing the mountain. And whether you're here or maybe somewhere in the beginning of the path, every day you're reminded how long it will take to get to your goal. And that's what I want to discuss in today's video, because that's the problem. Now, the solution is actually very simple. It's to ignore the mountain. That's all you need. So that's it for this video. You can stop watching after this, right? Now, before I continue, we actually know that almost 70% of you guys watching are not subscribed. That's outrageous. All right? So show us some love and hit the subscribe button. Thank you. You just ignore the mountain. Of course, that's easier said than done, but I do want to address that point because it comes down to the principle of discipline as well. You see, when people talk about discipline, what they usually think is that disciplined people force themselves, like they force themselves to do things. That's actually not what discipline is. So it's not that on a daily basis, disciplined people like literally force themselves, like do this, work out, draw this fundamental, take care of this, right? Clean this, whatever it is, everything that you associate with being disciplined. It's not like disciplined people actually always force themselves to do that, because that is mentally very exhausting. What they usually do, they build systems that technically force them, which is a strong word, that actually just allow for an environment where there's no other way but to do that thing. And so what that means is that instead of, let's say, you want to eat healthy, but there's a lot of shit food in the house, you get rid of all the food. You get rid of all the chips and the candy and the soda and whatever. And so there's now a system in your house where the only thing you can do is eat healthy. Unless, of course, you have to then force yourself to go get the unhealthy thing, which is almost the reverse of discipline. It's like you're forcing yourself to do bad things. From a psychological point of view, this happens a lot as well, right? It's the same with a cell phone. There's these, you almost have to put in a system of either putting the screen in black and white or getting like a time limit on certain apps where you're building a system that almost forces you or that doesn't allow you to constantly do bad things or bad behavior. And so this is what discipline, or a big contributing factor to discipline, is having these systems in place. And so what I want to talk about today is 6 things that will help you create a system to overcome your fear of like seeing the mountain and actually doing the thing you love doing. Because you have to be honest with yourself, like you want to draw, you love to draw. That's why you're in this scenario in the first place, because you have an appreciation for art. You actually also see yourself becoming a good artist. The only problem is sometimes that you want to almost like fast track or speed run the mountain, which is impossible. And that's something you understand as well. What I would suggest is 6 things to get over that. Number 1, and this is almost like when you're first starting out, or when you're in a very sort of art block stage where you're no longer drawing, where you can see yourself putting off drawing for a long period of time because you have this demotivation of drawing, because you understand how long it takes. What you do then is you don't draw to improve, you just draw. That's the first one. It's simple. And what this should do is you don't, or you no longer have an expectation of a certain outcome, but you just focus on drawing. And in the beginning, especially when you've been stuck for a really long time, you don't even just do a fundamental or whatever or anything specific in terms of exercises. You just focus on drawing, doodling, wherever. It doesn't have to be on a canvas. It doesn't have to be in a clean slate. You don't have to prepare anything. You just draw. You reignite the passion of what you love, drawing or painting, right? Doesn't matter. But you just do something. You just play around. You mess around. Be messy. Doesn't matter. Just find that joy of the act of drawing, not the outcome of what drawing can give you, but the act of drawing. Because as I mentioned many, many times, it's the process that gets us to good results. It's not the focus on a good result itself. Then number two is to actually pick one fundamental. So you pick one fundamental and you know the fundamentals, right? Because again, I'm talking to informed hobbyists or pessimists. So you pick one fundamental and you practice it for a long time. What this does is actually it hides the mountain for you. You no longer are considered with all these checkpoints that you have to now literally go through. You just focus on one checkpoint and you only run towards that checkpoint, but you're not concerned. You completely blind yourself from the rest of the mountain. That will help you stay consistent. I'm not saying it will fix your motivation, but it will help you stay consistent and at least not worry too much about everything that's to come. And by doing so, and this is the added benefit, because you're focusing on one fundamental, you will get a quicker sense of improvement or progress because you're focused on that one fundamental. Again, what I talk about in the Dunning-Kruger effect, because you will hit that, you will pass that valley of despair and you will come into that slope of enlightenment quicker because you're focused on just one thing. Now, before you do anything else, make sure that you click the link in the description and get our free ebook. This book is absolutely fantastic. Some of you won't even understand why it's free. We didn't need to make it for free, but we wanted to make it for free for several reasons. But one of the main reasons we wanted to make it for free is one, it's accessible, and it just gets everyone that uses the book and reads the book, gets an insight into actually how we teach, our unique teaching philosophy at Artwod. It gives you an insight into primarily what you'll be learning in our Artwod Beginner Road and applying, and it will give you these aha moments into how we at Artwod make you intuitive at perspective and how we really help you better to draw from imagination in a very approachable manner. So you'll get these aha moments of why we teach this philosophy, especially our staple unique approach to form manipulation that you won't learn anywhere else, on how to really look at form, how to be able to manipulate form that then turns into actual believable things that you can draw from imagination. We've supplemented some of our YouTube videos where you can go watch how we use these methods and principles and then create cool things. You'll get a really good insight into our beginner road and how to understand better what it takes to draw from imagination. And that, I think, we've done such a good job with this book, and you can get it for free. All right. Like I said, we don't need to make money from this book. I naturally believe that all the value you get from this book, you're going to want to practice that, and that will lead you to Artwod anyway. We sort of want to unveil some of the secrets we have at Artwod on how to better get people into learning to draw from imagination. That's what this book is for. That will naturally kind of give you a hunger to do more. As it should, because drawing is awesome, especially when you can do it from imagination. Click the link in the description, get this book. It's truly awesome, and it's free. And that leads me into number 3, which is to ignore, and this is the hardest one, by the way, ignore social media related to your goals. So it's not like go off of social media completely, although that would be the best thing. It's ignore everything that has to do with what you would say is your dream goal, right? Because every time on social media you get bombarded with amazing drawings, amazing art, it reaffirms that mountain. It reaffirms that long process you have to go through. And I'm specifically, again, speaking to people that I call informed pessimists or the informed hobbyist that knows how long it takes and gets demotivated just because of how long it takes. And for that reason, I would say ignore social media posts and very inspiring art, because art can inspire us. To some degree, it should inspire us. But for a lot of you, it demotivates you because you are looking at the outcome that you want, but you cannot yet achieve it. So again, it reaffirms the long road ahead, and therefore you should ignore it. What you can do, however, which is why working like physically together, finding a creative environment where you can draw with people, or a great online community where you can draw with people, it's not about sharing outcomes. It's more about showing process and progress. So watching people draw is much more, at least for me, or watching people paint, it's much more motivating than watching their end result. And so that can reignite, that can sort of rekindle your passion for actually getting into it. So that was number 4. So find a community of like-minded individuals. So then we can skip to number 5. And this is actually, again, very relatable to everything I've been saying. But what you do is you make process-based goals and you ignore outcome-based goals. So you completely ignore outcome-based goals. What does this mean? A lot of challenges online are about an outcome. Character design challenges that have a specific brief is like, we need an outcome. Give us this outcome. Now, the problem with this is that, especially if you're informed about how long it takes to get somewhere and you have a certain expectation of where your art needs to be, you will again see the mountain and get demotivated. Whereas on the other hand, if you focus on process-based goals, this is, for instance, why I like Inktober. It's the focus is not on the outcome, although they're prompts, it's on the process of using ink. This is a much better goal setting because it just forces you to draw, not to improve. But the irony is, by drawing, you improve. And so by focusing on one fundamental or that one specific medium, like ink, or just using one color in whatever software you're using, make it fun, but make it process-based, not outcome-based. It will massively help you, one, to get over that barrier of entry to draw or paint, and two, it will sort of distract you from an outcome and a result. It will not force you to expect something, because that, again, is dangerous. And then number 6, which I find equally important, and this sometimes really gets overlooked, and not only when it comes to art, but a lot of people that want to get good at a lot of things, whether it's physical fitness, whether it is their job, whether it's relationships, whether it's whatever they want to get good at, their hobbies, business. What they don't include, which can be dangerous to your growth, is you need to include rest. You deliberately include rest as part of your progress, not as part of recessing or regressing. And it completely reframes your mind in the sense that now what you're doing, again, you, the informed pessimist, is you're not resting. What you're doing is you're not doing anything. You're being lazy, quote unquote. And that feeling, because you label yourself that way, is contributing to your feeling of never being able to make it, because you're feeling unproductive. And that stacks up day by day, and therefore you get more and more demotivated. However, if you do all of these 5 points, but then also deliberately include rest, as in, today I'm not doing anything because it's good for my development, you give yourself positive reinforcement that you don't have to draw today, but you will continue to draw the next day or the day after. And it gives you a much better frame of mind in getting into drawing or getting into painting again. And it's the exact same with physical training. I know I compared the two a lot, but they have so much similarities that I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it with other people. And it just, for me, it really helps people understand this. If you compare getting good at art as top athleticism or sports, then you also understand that you cannot train hard every single day. A professional athlete has specific days of rest because it helps their development. And it's the exact same with art. The difference is they rest with purpose, whereas a lot of people are not doing anything without purpose. So you need to include rest. for your development. And these are 6 minor points. I could stack probably a lot more, but I think these 6 are really good to start with, because very similar to how in clinical psychology they would help people get over depression. I'm not saying you're depressed, but I'm trying to make a comparison. When they try to get people over depression, it's giving them the smallest tasks available that they can complete. Again, to give a bit of a dopamine hit and a sense of progress. And when it comes to your art block, especially when you know how long it takes to get good, that is your demotivator. And for that reason, you have to get rid of it. And you have to take small steps, and sometimes without expectation, focusing on the process itself, focusing on one particular thing, ignoring things that can demotivate you, finding a community of like-minded people where you can share progress and process, not outcomes, and including rest into your development can really, really help you get back on track and start making progress in art again. So with that said, that's everything I wanted to say about this topic. I know that people that are watching feel this way because I've done a bit of research in our communities around this. So I know there's people that are like that feel that way. So I hope this video helps you get into the journey of drawing again, because not drawing is worse than drawing and having a bad drawing at the end of the day. All right? So I hope it helps, and I'll see you in the next one.